They never told you that the real trap of awakening isn't ignorance, it's accumulation. The modern seeker keeps stacking meditations, affirmations, crystals, breathwork sessions, and guided visualizations, chasing a higher vibration the way a child chases a butterfly. But here's the twist no one dares to say aloud. Every time you chase the next practice, you silently affirm that you're not there yet. And that single belief is what locks the door you've been knocking on. The mind loves that chase. It feels like transformation. It smells like progress. It even gives you dopamine disguised as enlightenment. But beneath all that movement, there's stillness whispering, what if nothing's missing? Imagine the spiritual journey as a treadmill. You run harder, sweat devotion, repeat mantras of peace and abundance, but the scenery never changes. That's because effort belongs to the ego, the character still trying to prove its worth. True evolution, true awakening, doesn't happen in miles run. It happens in the sacred pause between two thoughts, when consciousness remembers itself. That pause is where the law of attraction, the power of the mind, and the deep current of inner peace merge into a single vibration, pure being. Most people don't notice the subtle addiction forming beneath their rituals. Neuroscience calls it the dopamine loop. Each new spiritual technique gives the brain a microdose of satisfaction, the illusion of advancement. You feel prosperous, awakened, illuminated for a moment, until the effect fades, and suddenly you're hunting for the next workshop, the next guru, the next online retreat. The irony, you're not addicted to growth, you're addicted to seeking. The identity of the one who still needs to heal keeps you safely busy, endlessly manifesting the same patterns you swore you'd transcend. Here's the gentle rebellion. Stop trying to heal for a day. Stop trying to manifest. Just watch. Sit down, breathe, and observe one recurring pattern in your life. Perhaps the way you react when someone criticizes you, or that familiar anxiety when money feels tight. Don't fix it. Don't chant over it. Simply witness it with awareness, as if watching a movie on the screen of consciousness. What happens is subtle but radical. You stop feeding the neural circuit that says, I must change to be free. In that moment of pure observation, your energy shifts from doing to being, from control to harmony. That's where the true transformation begins, not by adding, but by dissolving. The law of the universe is balance, not accumulation. The mind wants to build a better self, but the soul whispers, remember who you already are. When you allow yourself to rest in that remembrance, you awaken a wealth that no external abundance can match, the richness of inner stillness, the prosperity of existing without effort. This is where gratitude naturally blooms, not as a practice, but as a state of consciousness. Think of it like unclenching a fist you didn't realize was tight. Every mantra, every next level you chase, tightens that grip a little more. But when you finally open the hand, what pours in isn't more, it's peace. You start noticing the synchronicities, the small blessings, the quiet alignment with life's flow. This is not stagnation. This is the mind returning to equilibrium, to the original harmony that birthed it. You feel your chakras recalibrating, your spiritual energy softening, your body finding that sweet rhythm where the heart and the universe beat as one. And yet, part of you still asks, but if I stop striving, won't I regress? That's the voice of the seeker's fear, the echo of the old paradigm that believes progress is linear, measured in milestones, tracked by visible achievements. But consciousness doesn't climb ladders, it expands spheres. The awakening is not forward, it's inward. The real prosperity is remembering your wholeness now, not in some imagined future. So what if the great spiritual hack is to stop upgrading and start integrating, to merge the lessons you've already received instead of endlessly chasing new ones? The paradox of manifestation is that you can't attract what you keep declaring you don't have. When you rest in enoughness, when you vibrate gratitude for what is, The universe mirrors that frequency back in abundance, peace, and divine coherence. That's the hidden doorway, co-creation through surrender. Tomorrow's version of you doesn't need more information, it needs embodiment. The secret isn't in collecting techniques, but in dissolving resistance, breathing fully, feeling deeply, and allowing the energy of life to move through you without judgment. The old self fears silence because silence reveals the truth. You were never the seeker, but the consciousness orchestrating the search. And that realization, quiet as it seems, begins the unraveling of time itself. Because maybe, just maybe, the real level up doesn't happen in steps or years or karmic milestones. It happens the moment the mind stops counting and presence starts observing. And that, my friend, is where the next chapter of this awakening begins, where time bends, probabilities collapse, and you discover that the future you've been chasing has been here all along, waiting for you to notice. They say time heals everything, but what if time is the wound itself? Most seekers unknowingly worship the clock. One day I'll awaken, someday I'll be abundant. When I finally master my energy, then I'll manifest peace. But that someday never comes because it can't. Consciousness doesn't evolve in minutes or months. It unfolds in dimensions of awareness. The future self you're waiting for is already vibrating here in this breath right now. The only thing separating you from it is the idea of later. When the mind lives in time, it's forever rehearsing the past or previewing the future. That's the psychological timeline, the invisible cage of linear thinking. It keeps you trapped in a loop of becoming, never arriving. Quantum physicists like Tom Campbell and Joe Dispenza have been whispering the same ancient secret through modern science. All versions of reality already exist. The self who is free, prosperous, and illuminated isn't waiting at the end of your journey. Wonder you sight. It's existing parallel to you, like a radio station broadcasting on a different frequency. To jump levels is not to move forward, but to tune in. Think of it as standing in a hallway of infinite mirrors. Each reflection shows a version of you, one burdened by anxiety, another glowing with inner peace, another radiating abundance and harmony. You don't walk from one mirror to another, you simply shift which reflection you identify with. The mind calls it a miracle, the soul calls it remembering. That shift in observation, that tiny collapse of probability, is what creates the quantum leap. Here's a small practice to witness it for yourself. Recall a painful memory, one that still feels like a knot inside your energy field. Maybe it's a betrayal, a failure, or that silent grief you never voiced. Now, instead of reliving it, change the observer. Watch it from the higher self, from the consciousness that sees all experiences as information, not identity. Notice how the emotional charge begins to dissolve, how the nervous system softens, how compassion starts to flow where judgment once lived. You didn't change the past. You reprogrammed the neural network that kept looping it. That is real-time neuroplasticity, consciousness reshaping matter through observation. This is the cheat code of spiritual evolution. Stop trying to escape time and learn to collapse it. Every time you bring your awareness fully into the present moment, psychological time loses its grip. Your brainwaves shift, your heart coherence stabilizes, and your energy field realigns with the quantum fabric of creation. You begin to feel abundance not as a goal, but as a frequency. You sense that gratitude isn't something you express later when you make it, but a portal you step through right now to enter alignment with the universe. In this state, the law of attraction stops being a theory and becomes a living rhythm. You're no longer manifesting from lack, you're magnetizing from wholeness. The universe mirrors back your consciousness like a divine algorithm responding to your inner code. This is why those who live in true peace and inner wealth seem to attract effortlessly. They've transcended the dimension of effort. Their vibration carries the authority of someone who knows they are already home. And yet, the ego resists this truth because it dismantles its identity. Without a future to chase, what would the seeker be? Who would you be without the story of progress? It's unsettling, even terrifying, to realize that the path was never a path, that you've been walking in circles inside a dream of time. But on the other side of that disorientation comes the most beautiful awakening, the understanding that you are, and always have been, the timeless witness behind every transformation. That's when the miracle happens. The need to get somewhere dissolves, and suddenly, blessings begin to arrive unannounced, not because you earned them, but because your energy stopped pushing them away. Relationships soften, opportunities flow, synchronicities multiply. You start living in a rhythm that feels divinely orchestrated, where prosperity and peace are no longer goals, but byproducts of alignment. And here lies the paradox that humbles every true mystic. When you stop seeking to rise, you naturally ascend. The expansion of consciousness doesn't happen through effort. It happens through surrender, the release of the idea that anything is missing. In that release, the psychological construct of time collapses into a single eternal moment, the now that contains all versions of you. You see, the portal you've been searching for isn't ahead of you. It's layered right on top of this moment, invisible until your vibration shifts to match it. The future you dream of isn't waiting in another lifetime. It's encoded here, vibrating beneath your current frequency, ready to emerge the instant you stop measuring progress. And when that realization begins to seep into your body, when your cells start recognizing this new rhythm as normal, something extraordinary begins. A biological reprogramming that doesn't just change your thoughts, but your chemistry. The body starts to embody the timeless self. But that, my friend, is another layer of the mystery, the bridge where consciousness begins to write directly on the flesh, where biology meets divinity, and the future starts pulsing through your veins. At first, the shift feels subtle, like silence spreading through your skin. The mind starts to quiet, but the body doesn't yet believe. It's as if your cells are still tuned to an old station, broadcasting static from a past frequency. You may have glimpsed inner peace, harmony, even flashes of illumination, yet somehow the same anxiety, the same fatigue, the same patterns return. Why? Because transformation is not a mental concept, it's a biological reconfiguration. Every emotion is chemistry. Every belief has a corresponding hormone. You can think abundance all day, repeat affirmations of prosperity and gratitude, but if your physiology is still producing cortisol and adrenaline from subconscious fear, the universe reads your frequency, not your words. Your cells listen to vibration, not vocabulary. This is where the awakening becomes real, when the body begins to recognize the energy of the future as its new baseline. Bruce Lipton, one of the pioneers of epigenetics, once said, "Your perception controls your biology. It's not your DNA that determines your destiny. It's your state of consciousness. The moment you shift how you perceive yourself and your environment, your cells begin rewriting their own programs." But here's the catch. The body only believes repetition. That's why miracles feel temporary, because they haven't yet become familiar. The nervous system, like an old guardian, resists what it doesn't recognize. So, to embody the next level of consciousness, you don't need more information. You need consistency of frequency. This means bringing coherence to every micro-action. The way you breathe, the way you speak to yourself, the posture you hold when you wake up, the tone you use when you say your name. Each of these micro-habits teaches your body what reality feels like. Imagine speaking as your future self would, calm, grounded, abundant, grateful. Imagine breathing as if the universe were constantly exhaling blessings through your lungs. That's how the physiology of awakening begins, not through force, but through alignment. The real transformation happens when your emotions match your intentions. When you visualize abundance but still feel scarcity, your energy becomes incoherent. But when you feel prosperity before it arrives, when you embody gratitude before it manifests, the body sends a clear signal to the field. This reality is already real. That is the secret language of manifestation, not future tense, but cellular presence. You might wonder, how do I train my body to stay in that state? Start small. Create rituals of coherence. For example, before checking your phone in the morning, place your hand over your heart and breathe until you sense warmth expanding. Whisper, "I am already connected to the universe." Feel that connection, not as a thought, but as energy. Throughout the day, notice when your body contracts, in traffic, during conflict, in self-doubt, and use the breath as a bridge back to harmony. Over time, this reprograms your vagus nerve, balancing your parasympathetic system and anchoring inner peace as your default vibration. You'll notice how synchronicities accelerate when your body aligns with your higher frequency. It's not magic, it's resonance. When your cells vibrate in coherence, they emit a stable electromagnetic field that harmonizes with the universal energy grid. That's when luck becomes predictable and manifestation feels effortless. Opportunities start finding you, relationships evolve naturally, and even your health begins to reflect the inner order of your consciousness. But here's where most seekers unknowingly sabotage themselves. They try to manifest the new reality using the physiology of the old self. The mind declares abundance, but the body still lives in the vibration of lack, tensed shoulders, shallow breathing, the subtle hum of survival mode. The universe hears that dissonance loud and clear. You can't fool energy. If your nervous system is wired for fear, it will keep attracting situations that match that signal, no matter how positive your affirmations sound. The antidote isn't pushing harder. It's teaching the body to feel safe in the vibration of expansion. When safety and abundance coexist in your nervous system, the gate of manifestation swings open. This is why deep meditative states, energy healing, and even simple acts of mindful presence work. They tell your body, you can relax here. You are supported. And once the body believes that, the external world mirrors it instantly. This is not mystical poetry, it's neurobiology. The heart emits the strongest electromagnetic field in the human body, and when that field resonates with gratitude, it organizes chaos into order. Your thoughts stop fighting your emotions and both start dancing to the rhythm of higher intelligence. That's the true union of spirit and matter, the marriage of heaven and flesh. You begin to understand that spirituality isn't about escaping the body, it's about sanctifying it. Every breath becomes a prayer, every heartbeat a mantra of creation. The chakras aren't abstract symbols anymore, they're living portals through which your consciousness informs your biology. When your throat chakra opens, your words heal. When your heart chakra expands, relationships harmonize. When your solar plexus aligns, prosperity flows naturally, not as an achievement, but as the body's natural response to coherence. This is what it means to live in divine abundance, not in material excess, but in energetic equilibrium. The prosperity outside becomes inevitable once the richness within is stabilized. And as the body learns this new language of vibration, something even deeper starts to unfold. The recognition that there was never a separation between spirit and matter at all. They were just two sides of one sacred current dancing in perfect unity. And just when you start feeling fully embodied, peaceful, and whole, another whisper arises. A question you can't ignore anymore. If the body can remember the future, then who's the one teaching it? Who's the consciousness writing new codes into flesh, guiding this evolution from behind the curtain of form? That's when the real cheat is revealed. Not the technique, not the method, but the remembrance of the one who designed the game itself. And then the question echoes through the silence of your being. Who is the one observing all of this? Who's reprogramming the body, witnessing the mind, feeling the energy shift, manifesting realities, yet remains untouched by them all? The seeker dissolves in that question. The meditator disappears. What remains is awareness, the quiet, infinite presence behind every role you've ever played. That's when you realize the ultimate cheat code of spirituality is remembering you're the creator of the game, not the character trying to win it. All this time, you thought the journey was about climbing some invisible staircase toward enlightenment, accumulating knowledge, expanding consciousness, balancing chakras, attracting abundance, awakening peace. But the real game wasn't vertical, it was circular. Every level up was simply another orbit around the same center, the eternal now. The player was never meant to escape the maze. The player was meant to realize they built it. It's humbling, almost funny, to see how elaborate the illusion was. The ego played the part of the seeker with such sincerity, chanting affirmations, aligning energies, cleansing crystals, visualizing prosperity, meditating on inner peace, all while the true self watched, smiling. The mind thought it was chasing awakening, but awakening was quietly watching the mind. The light you were searching for was the one seeing through your eyes all along. This is the paradox of consciousness. The more you try to be spiritual, the more you strengthen the identity that feels separate from spirit. The moment you stop trying, the truth rushes in like breath after suffocation. Enlightenment is not a reward for effort. It's the natural state that reappears when the effort dissolves. The universe was never testing you. It was mirroring you. You were never climbing. You were unfolding. Imagine watching a video game character struggling to escape the screen, unaware that the real player sits outside the console. Every fear, every victory, every quest, all projected light. That's what awakening feels like when it lands in the body. Suddenly, the urgency fades. You stop fighting for peace and start being it. You realize that manifestation, abundance, and transformation are not things you do. They're automatic functions of consciousness, remembering its wholeness. When you shift from character to creator, from doing to being, the energy reorganizes itself in your favor. The world bends to your frequency, because it is your frequency. There's an old saying in mystical circles, the dream ends when the dreamer awakens. But the sages always smiled when they said it, because awakening doesn't mean the dream disappears. It means you can finally play inside it consciously. You can love deeply, work passionately, manifest prosperity, explore abundance, without forgetting that it's all a dance of light. You move through life with the serenity of someone who knows there are no mistakes, only mirrors. Every challenge becomes a blessing in disguise, every obstacle a coded lesson in self-recognition. Here's a simple yet profound practice. The next time your mind says, "I need to change," pause. Take a breath and silently respond, "Who's noticing that?" Let the question dissolve into the stillness of awareness. That awareness, spacious, calm, infinite, is the true you. The more often you return to that recognition, the more life begins to rearrange itself effortlessly. Situations resolve without struggle. People around you shift, money flows, synchronicities multiply. Why? Because consciousness has stopped pretending to be small. This is what mystics call the effortless path. Not because nothing happens, but because everything happens through you rather than to you. You become a vessel of divine harmony, a living expression of gratitude, balance, and inner abundance. You no longer manifest through intention alone, but through vibration. Your mere presence becomes a frequency of awakening, the law of attraction operating silently in your aura. And as this awareness deepens, a strange peace settles in. You stop fearing the unknown because you see yourself in the unknown. You stop clinging to control because you understand that everything unfolding is your own consciousness in motion. This is true freedom, not escaping reality, but embracing it with open eyes. The next level was never somewhere else. It was the moment you stopped believing in separation. Now, life becomes play again. The path turns into a dance between surrender and creation. You laugh more, love more, trust more. Even challenges lose their heaviness. They become invitations to remember who's dreaming. You sense the infinite intelligence pulsing through every cell, the same energy that moves stars and tides moving through your breath. That's not poetic imagery. That's direct experience when the illusion of individuality dissolves, and somewhere deep within, a knowing dawns. This was never about becoming more. It was about remembering more deeply. You didn't level up. You leveled in. The only real transformation is returning home to what you've always been, consciousness witnessing itself in endless forms, forever playing, forever creating. So if you ever find yourself asking, what's the next step? Smile. The next step is this one. The next vibration is the one you're already feeling. The next portal is the one you're standing in. You've already won the game because you wrote its code. All that's left is to live it fully, with gratitude, curiosity, and the gentle knowing that the divine isn't out there, but right here, breathing through you. And as that realization settles into your bones, as your energy stabilizes in peace, abundance, and harmony, you sense the great cosmic irony. The ultimate spiritual hack was never about reaching higher, but remembering who was playing all along. So, after all this, let me ask you something. What if this isn't just another spiritual insight for you to file away? What if it's the moment you finally stop searching and start embodying? You've spent years collecting wisdom, meditating, manifesting, healing, chasing alignment, but now the universe is whispering, enough, integrate. Because none of this means anything if it stays in theory. The true transformation, the real awakening, happens the moment you decide to live as if everything you've been learning is already real, because it is. You don't need another sign. You don't need another course, another teacher, another book. You just need to remember what you already know, that peace, prosperity, and spiritual abundance were never goals. They were your birthright. So here's my challenge for you. And yes, it's supposed to feel uncomfortable. Can you live one day as your highest vibration? Can you respond to life not from fear, but from faith? Can you act, speak, and breathe like the conscious creator you now remember yourself to be? Because the moment you do, everything changes. The energy shifts. The reality you experience starts bending around your new coherence. You stop attracting lessons and start radiating blessings. You become a magnet for harmony, gratitude, and miracles, not because you're trying to, but because that's who you are when you stop pretending to be less. And I want you to see it happen. I want you to feel the power of your own consciousness rewriting your story. Because once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never settle for anything less. So if this message stirred something inside you, that quiet remembering of who you really are, don't let it fade. Anchor it, feed it, live it. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week we're going to dive even deeper, breaking illusions, unlocking the power of the mind, and exploring the vast universe within you. Your awakening isn't waiting somewhere else. It's here. It's now. So breathe deeply, smile softly, and remember, you're not the seeker anymore. You're the source.